Welcome to Sales Beast Podcast, when success is the only option. My name is Anna Marin.
My name is Mike Johnson.
We truly believe that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So we created this podcast to inspire you and surround you with the ideas and thoughts of the most successful people in real estate. Today we're joined by Jordan Pyle with Keller Williams Realty in Chicago. He is a young, driven, highly successful realtor who was just recognized as Realtor Magazine's 30 Under 30 honoree for 2020. In 2019, Jordan sold 25 homes and did about $9.3 million in total sales volume. Please welcome Jordan Pyle. Thanks so much, Jordan, for joining us today all the way from Chicago. How are you doing?
I'm good. Chi-Town represent. Thank you guys. Grateful for you guys having me on the podcast today. Super exciting.
Awesome. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're at in your business, like your level, units, GCI, and how long you've been in real estate.
Level, units, GCI. Okay, yeah. So Jordan Pyle, originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, but I've been in Chicago since graduating college, actually, and I've been having my license since then. So I got in right out of college, one of those crazy people that, wanted to pick up and run with it right out of the gate. So now this is year 7. Which is crazy to think that I've been in the business for 7 years or six years and a quarter now. But yeah, so I'm with Keller Williams. Currently am the founder and president of our Keller Williams Young Professionals chapter. Some of my other involvements are I'm the current chair for the Chicago Association of Realtors Young Professional Network as well. And just recently, I was very grateful and honored to be named as one of the 30 Under 30 for the National Association of Realtors. So last year did just shy of $10 million in real estate. GCI, I think, was close to 250, 260. And that's about 25 sales, but then about 36 to 38 total transactions.
Amazing.
Awesome.
We have a high price point here.
Yeah, of course.
What does someone have to do to get nominated for that award?
Yeah, so it's interesting. And this was my second round at it. So back in 2019, I applied. So it is something you apply for. I think about 250 to 350 people every single year, put their name in the hat, so to speak. And it's really a combination of some different factors. I've had some guidance from some mentors and, some past 30 under 30s, but it's really a combination of I would say involvement, community leadership, as well as industry leadership, and then production. So it's not, a lot of people think it's just production. If they have high numbers, they're going to be a shoo-in, but it's more so weighted on what is the impact you're making in your community, both locally and then also in your real estate industry community. So this year I was fortunate. Last year I made it to the top 50 and didn't make the 30 cut, but this year we finally got across the finish line. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And kind of just to touch on it while we're kind of already speaking on it, being part of KWYP, YPN, all of these associations, while being a young professional in leadership, what has that done for your business and for the people around you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my leadership journey, I'll call it, started, so I was about 3.5, 4 years into the business before I ever stepped up into any leadership capacity. And one of my best mentors, someone that I respect highly, Tommy Choi. He was the kind of one that kind of guided me down the path of, hey, you gotta step up, you gotta get involved. I was building a business and I was very happy with the trajectory that it was going, but I felt like I was missing that link of okay, what am I doing to actually, like I just said, make an impact on my community? So I was definitely in the sales game and I was churning out deals, but I felt like I was missing that missing link, So really going into it, it was more just to kind of fill a void. And I never thought that the business would come from it the way that it has. So now, 3 years into this, being stepping up into the KWYP position, as well as with my local association, today about 33%, a third of my business is agent-to-agent referrals. So not only has it gave me a platform to have a voice for the industry and for the things that I'm passionate about, and to ultimately have a larger, platform to affect change, but it's definitely put money in my pocket too in ways that I could never expect. So, I think this is the coolest part now, just being able to connect to people all over the country and literally every single city throughout the US and now in Canada. I have multiple people that I know that are young professionals in the industry, and that we're all, a collaborative unit that helps lift each other up and make each other better. And I think that in turn, makes the industry better.
Yeah, for sure. That speaks testaments to what a relationship can do in terms of business, right?
Sure.
Now, where are you at in your business? Are you in growth, stabilization mode? What does that look like for you, especially with what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So last year in 2019, I was definitely, it's always growth mode. However, I'm learning that growth doesn't always mean people. I think growth can also mean systems, processes, and just being more efficient with your time too. And then also growth within yourself. I'm big into personal development, but so I'm definitely doubling down on the personal development now with the quarantine. But back in 2019, I started actually growing my team and hit some roadblocks, hit some hurdles there. So I had an administrative assistant, or an admin is what you guys call it in Canada. And then I had one other, I had an ISA who was basically, in the sales capacity helping me. Because I'm a really good person, face to face, belly to belly. I'm not so good over the phone. And that was just something I recognized. So I hired to my weaknesses. But then about October last year, I decided to kind of wipe the slate clean, just didn't have the right people in the right positions, and just kind of reassess where I was. And a lot of that came back to, well, let me build out the systems and let me get more efficient with my time and where I'm spending my time and who I'm spending my time with. And then going into this year, it was definitely like, okay, let's continue to grow. Let's get to that point of kind of the fourth level team model that I know you guys are probably familiar with. I actually, talked in depth with Dylan Suter about that, and really getting to that 36 deals per year, and then adding in that first admin, adding in that second admin, and then starting to add some agents to the team. So right now, I'd say I'm still churning down that path of just producing deals. And with my other involvements, I do have I have a transaction coordinator that I pay per deal, as well as a listing manager. And that's all within my market center with Keller Williams, which is really awesome because it helps provide some leverage there. But yeah, the future, it's definitely a little bit of a weird time right now with the coronavirus. So right now we're really focused on just getting everything, kind of to the closing table and continuing to build the pipeline. But yeah, I can see when the dam breaks, let's call it mid-year to, Q3, I'll definitely be back in that mode of potentially looking to hire somebody. And right now, you better believe I'm talking to people and talking to talented individuals to make sure that I'm not behind on that once that time comes.
Building the bench, so to speak, right?
Yeah, trying to keep the cost low right now, because I know it is a vulnerable time. We don't know how this is all going to shake out. So, it's kind of the silver lining. I'm grateful now that I don't have a large team, even though that can offset some of this. But for me right now, I'm good where I'm at, and I'm just going to continue, servicing my clients at the highest level possible.
Awesome. Love it.
I guess the next question for you, when you got in the business and then still today, what is it that you do for lead generation, and has that changed since we've been impacted by this COVID virus?
Yeah, well, I would say my lead generation overall has changed every different step, right? Every different, whether it be year, every different checkpoint along the way. Like I said, 6 years and some change now. And in the beginning, I'm from Indiana, like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast here, and so when I moved to Chicago, I was asking around. Like I got in literally at age 23. Like I know you guys are both really young too, and it's a blessing that I'm in it now almost 7 years, and I'm only 29 years old. So, but in the beginning, everyone was like, "Work your database." I'm like, "Well, I had that back in Indiana, but I'm 23 years old. The only people I know in Chicago, a new city, no knowledge of real estate, no knowledge of like the actual city itself and how to actually sell the real estate." And people were like, "Work your database," and I didn't have that. So really, I just was very intentional about going out and meeting people. Really, my database now today is the thing I'm most proud about, and like the amount of people, the relationships I have, and the connections. I will put my database up against anybody else's, but it all started with just going to a networking event, going and getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and just letting everybody in my path know that, yes, I might be inexperienced, but I'm going to work my ass off. I don't know if we can cuss on this, but I'm going to work harder than the next guy to show you and prove to you that I'm going to earn your trust and your confidence to get the job done. And whatever that is that you're looking to accomplish, like I'm going to figure it out. So I think that was kind of the beginning, was just meeting people. And then I got very intentional about linking up with mentors. So I was purposeful about, okay, who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Let me find some people that can kind of show me the ropes. And then there was one guy, by the name of Josh Lipton, very grateful for him to this day, and no longer work with him currently, but he was a little bit older, had a larger skill set. And so what I started doing, I started calling FSBOs, expireds. I was actually on Zillow with like the Make Me Moves. I don't know if you guys have Zillow in Canada, but it's basically someone putting their property on the market, typically way overpaying me this price, make me move. So I was calling these people, just diving in and just acting a fool, just trying to earn their business, set an appointment. And then once I set an appointment, I would bring that guy, the Josh guy, with me. I'd say, hey, I'd rather take 50% of something to know that I'm going to at least lock it down by having someone else with me. And then, few of those happen. And then over time, I started getting my own confidence, and I kind of went out and spread my wings. And then to fast forward, the last couple of years, I would say really that compound effect of focusing solely on adding people to my database, then communicating with them in a systematic way. Like 95% of my business now is referral based. So I was calling through on a 36 touch. I'm very event based. Chicago's kind of I definitely think it's a relationship market. And it's very easy to, take 5 of your favorite people out to a Cubs game, or to, have bigger events, that you can do throughout the city, fun things in the park or on the beach or whatever it is. So really just focusing on the people that are already in my world and loving on them. Because I've recognized again that I'm not the guy that's very good on the phone, which I know that you are. So we're a little bit different in that way. Yeah.
I think one thing, like, you sound very much like Jeff Glover. Like in the beginning, he was more transactional, and I have a reputation, or I did have a reputation for being transactional. And it was actually Jeff that changed my mindset around that. And at this point, I now see the value in building deeper relationships with people.
Yeah.
Not only because it's going to be a more enjoyable, easier road for me in my future, but it's way more fruitful.
It's you don't have to prove yourself as much when you go and you get a referral from someone in your database. Or like I said, 33% of my business now is from a trusted agent around the country, that they're sending people to me, and they're already, like, the source of that referral already has their trust and confidence in me, and that kind of transitions into that client too, or that referral opportunity. So I'm going in and just saying, hey, here's my game plan. This is what I do to get properties sold. And they trust me, versus going up to a FSBO or an expired and really having to, pull out your skill sets or your sales pitch. And don't get me wrong, like, it's always a sales pitch. You're always explaining how you're going to do better than the next guy or the next girl. But yeah, 100%, if I can focus on like 100 people and just give them everything I got, like if I have 100 raving fans, that's my army out there. And they're going to be the ones that's referring me. So it's my database army, it's my agent army, and all those people now, the business just comes to me, which is awesome. And now it's just a matter of like, what can I do to double down to increase that business? Because then I can start scaling and adding other people to give other people opportunity.
For sure. No, that's good. And at least it's spoken for, like you said, you're having people come to you with already a trusted word, right? No, I can really appreciate that. And so I guess we kind of already touched on it, but what activities are you doing differently, and what activities are your leaders or the people around you that you look to for mentorship doing differently during the shift?
During this time right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think that right before we got on this podcast and started recording, like I mentioned, I'm a big mindset guy. I'm a big personal development guy. So really, really making sure that does not go to the wayside is incredibly critical and important to me. And I think it's something that everyone has to do right now if they haven't. So I think of this right now as like, we've been, and I was talking about this earlier today with somebody, but I look at this whole coronavirus thing as like, it's almost like the society and like the world and Earth saying, hey, like, we're going to put you guys in check because you guys have been building too many bad habits. You guys have been having so much weight on everything that you do. So I think now's the time. It's almost like a juice cleanse for the world and juice cleanse for all of our lives. Of like, okay, let's strip away all the bad habits, all the things that we were carrying with us, all the fluff. and really get back to like, what are the good habits we can implement starting right now? Because if you think about it right now, it's like the start of like the next decade, which it already was going into 2020. And a lot of people are already talking about, okay, what's your 10-year vision look like? What, like 2030 thinking back? Like, and I heard this from David Osborne, actually, he's a KW guy. He's like, right now is the perfect time to write a 10-year vision. And it starts by saying, hey, in February of 2020, coronavirus shook the world. And now I'm here today because of that, essentially, right? So to answer your question, really focusing on my morning routine, getting up, implementing the right habits so that I can be good with myself, so that I can show up 200% to the world when that time comes to pick up the phone for the first call of the day, or to log onto a Zoom podcast or a Zoom call. So that's the first thing. I think the next thing is really getting, and you're going to hear this all over right now, but really cutting expenses. I realized how many things that I had that I was paying for on a monthly basis that was just ridiculous. Like, and I was already starting this process before this all hit. So it's not hurting as bad now than it is for some people. But every time I look at my budget and every time I look at my expenses, I've cut more than 20%, both personally and in my business. It just feels better. Like, you're lighter, you get more creative about how to use your resources around you. And then you lean on other people, right? So I think it's not always like, oh, let's pay for that next thing in order to increase our business. Like, what can we do activity-wise and discipline-wise right now to really go to that next level? And then just loving on people, reaching out to them, making sure they know that we're here for them. I really don't think it's a time to, like, I'll agree with most that it's not a time to really cold, hard, like, lead generate and ask for referrals. But everyone is always going to bring it up when you talk to them anyways. So it's like, lead with, come from contribution, lead with value, and you're going to get an opportunity to become the expert. Because for so long, people diminished the value that we as realtors provide. And now people are looking to us for critical answers. Hold on one second. Sorry, I got a siren going on. Sorry, it's 70 degrees in Chicago today, so.
Oh man, no worries.
Yeah, so I got the window open. But yeah, so that's the last thing, is just proving the value and sharpening our skill sets. Because when we come to the other side of this, the people that have the skills are the ones that are gonna, and that have earned the trust, are the ones that are gonna be better off once the smoke clears here.
Yeah, I think on a team basis for us, we're doing the same thing. We're realizing that we were paying for so many things that were unnecessary. Now it's like we could have just leaned a little bit more on people leverage, and we probably would have gotten the same, if not better, quality service stuff, right? So can you maybe list off a few things that you're cutting in specific regarding expenses?
Specific expenses?
Yeah.
I mean, subscriptions is the first thing everyone's got to go to. Like, there's so many different things out there to be able to pull out those subscriptions. But basically what I did is to get to this point, like, I stopped using all forms of credit. So I basically just put a hold on those just to see what was coming through. So basically what I mean by that is, like, I was going in and switching them from coming out automatically from my credit cards to my actual accounts. Because when the money comes out of your actual account, it feels a lot different than when you put it on a credit card. And then it allowed me to really look very closely at every single expense and say, do I need that or not? So, I mean, I don't know, I can't think of anything like off the top of my head, but I mean, there was $1,000 expense that I was paying for just a marketing service. Like, so it's the big things and the small things. I probably cut like 2,000 of like the bigger things, whether that be marketing aid or like even some different resources within the transaction that I was leveraging, because I have a little bit more time now to actually do those things myself. Some marketing stuff, like right now, it's like your phone is just as good as like having professional videos, because even though that's great and it looks good, like, as long as you're putting out consistent content that's valuable to people, like, that's all that matters. So that was a big part of it. And then eating out, getting groceries and cooking meals and meal prepping. Like, that is something, in Starbucks and all that. Like, I was spending so much money on that. And now I'm very focused on I mean, honestly, this quarantine, like I've become like the peanut butter and jelly master, because not only are they delicious, but they're like, you know, you can get like 30 meals for like $5. So really being careful with that.
Hope you're not eating PB&J like all day. Please take care of yourself.
I mean, they're good for you, you know, it's protein and some carbs in there, but whatever.
Awesome.
Okay. So that's about it.
You mentioned earlier that you're pretty conscious about using your time efficiently, spending your time with the right people.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and what your average day looks like?
Yeah, for sure. I think in the beginning, it was just meet as many people as possible and go to that client out in the suburbs or in that market that I'm not too sure about, or that price point that I don't really work, or even that type of product, right? So nowadays, I mean, my routine is pretty dialed in. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement. And since I have all these other obligations and things that I've stepped up, like these leadership positions, I have to be very diligent with my time. And then you throw on top of that, I'm also training for an Ironman right now. So like I'm training 2 to 4 hours a day. So, and the whole reason I did that was to force discipline into every other area of my life. So I'm waking up, you know, most days, not always, but typically about 5 a.m. 4:44. 4 is my lucky number, so 4:44 is when it goes off, and typically I get up around 5. Go straight into usually drinking some water. You know, it's the savers, it's the miracle morning. But the staple, there's 2 staples I would say with that, and it's the exercise and the meditation. So I mean, I've been in the health and fitness for a long time. So that's not something I really is like a goal or like something I have to like really focus on. It just happens because it makes me feel good. But the meditation, I would say, has been like an absolute game changer over the last 2 or 3 years. And I was using like guided meditation, so like Headspace or Calm. And just in the last 6 months, I've started doing silent meditation. If you've never done it, like literally just sitting there and kind of like, it's different, but it's really profound. So once I get through that, that's about 5 to 9. So I do extend my morning out to allow me to have those 4 hours to really dive in love on myself. And then, 9 o'clock is typically when I take my first meeting or when I settle into the office, if I'm going to the office. And then 9 to 12 is lead gen, lead follow-up, or business advancing activities. Typically then from there, I'll go to a lunch. I like to go either grab coffee or lunch with somebody else, whether it be a client or, you know, someone for KWYP or some other person that they can add value to me and I can add value to them. And then from there, 1 to, let's call it like 5 is normally like projects. It's either projects or appointments. And then normally 5 to, let's call it 8 are like out on showings with clients, because most people prefer to be out after 5:30 when they get off work to go look at homes. So my listing appointments and all that would be between that 1 and 5 period, if possible. And then a lot of times the buyer stuff is kind of at the end of the day. And then, I wind down. I like to reflect on the day at the end of the day. I don't necessarily journal. But one thing I do want to say real quick, because it's been something that's really helped me a lot and helped me gain a lot of clarity about where I'm spending my time, and not only my time, but like my energy. So I've become really, really focused on like my return on energy versus like return on time or return on money. So what I'm doing now is, the end of every day, and I forget who I heard this from, but it was somebody else. It's not me that came up with this. Is like I'm going at the end of the day and writing down like the 3 to 5 things that day that sucked my energy. So let's say that was like filling out a contract or doing something that just that didn't inspire me or didn't motivate it or you know, fuel my passions. So I'm writing those down to become clear about, okay, you know, why did I do those things, and this is how it made me feel. And I'm writing 3 to 5 things down that gave me energy. And that's doing things like this. That's, you know, meeting with other people that I can add value to, or going on listening appointments. Like I love being face to face with people. So, and then over time, what that does is you start to realize all the things that suck your energy and then all the things that give you energy. And then the goal is to start filling your calendar with all the things that give you energy. And then for the things that don't, you either automate it, delegate it, or delete it. And really being focused on that. And it's easier said than done. Like by no means am I perfect at it, but I'm starting to get an idea of like, okay, this is the life I want to live, and these are the things I want to fill that with. And and I don't need to do all these other things because it's just going to it's going to lead to burnout. So really focusing on the things that are going to keep me moving forward.
That's such an amazing piece of advice, because at the end of the day, I think, sure, we get into this job for money, we get into it for various reasons, but ultimately it's just to have great lives that we've always dreamed of.
Yeah, I talk a lot about, like, we're all out to, and this is kind of integrated into our KWYP chapter because I'm president of it and founder, so I kind of was the one that put it in there. But like, I preach about, we're creating big businesses, but more importantly, massive lives. And massive lives to me is the holistic life. It's the health and fitness, spirituality, your relationships, love, your business, finances. It's all that, right? Like, I don't want to be the lopsided guy that has a super strong business, but I'm not going to say specific things. Maybe I'm divorced. I just don't have a good relationship with my kids one day. I have no kids right now. But whatever that thing is, those are those glass balls. You've probably heard this analogy.
Yeah.
Can't drop those because those are going to break and crumble. And those are your family and your relationships. Your business, your finances, those can always bounce back up. Those are the rubber ones. So really trying to be as well-rounded as possible. That's really the goal.
That's awesome. I really struck me. You spend 4 hours on personal development every single day.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. I mean, part of that's like transitional time and that, or cooking, breakfast, whatever the case may be. But I'd say it's probably 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah. So what specifically do you do to fill those 4 hours? You mentioned the savers, meditation is huge for you.
Yeah. Also, a lot of it's, like I said, I'm doing the full Ironman later this year. Hopefully, God bless that. It all still goes down, but that requires a longer period of exercise. So normally it's waking up. First thing is the exercise. That's about 2 hours, and then I'm doing. I like to go straight from exercise into meditation. I've actually been doing 15 minutes of Wim Hof. I don't know if you know Wim Hof or not.
Yeah, the Iceman.
Yeah, the Iceman, exactly. It's awesome. I recommend it to everyone. There's a 15-minute YouTube video if you just type in like Wim Hof breathing technique or something like that. And it's 3 rounds of this breath work, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I'll do that, and it just makes you feel amazing. And then I'll go straight from that and into 15 minutes of silent meditation. And that's like the best combo. Like, that's 30 minutes right there. After that, I typically like to, I like to read something, like just like a chapter or 10. So I'm actually reading Untethered Soul right now, which people raved about it. And now I'm raving about it and sharing with everyone I know. I don't know if you guys have read it, but try to read something. Normally that's more of like, it's not necessarily like I don't really read like, fiction. Like I read pretty much nonfiction all the time, but I like to spend that time reading something a little bit more like deeper, like a little bit, not necessarily like as tactical. And then usually write my goals in some way or another, or look at them. And then from there, I'm typically showering up. While I'm showering, I'm listening to an audio. I'm doing affirmations in my head. I'm visualizing things. And then, from there, I'm, grabbing a protein shake or something like that, and then getting into the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wim Hof cold shower?
I actually just took one right before this.
Crazy.
Not every day, I'll be honest, because like some days I'm not feeling it. But whenever I do, it's definitely worth it. Do you do it?
Oh, yeah. It feels amazing.
Yeah.
Instantly. Yeah. My gym here it's got a cold tub.
Oh man.
Cold the water is, but it's pretty close to 0.
I'm jealous.
Very inconsistently.
No one has cold plunges anywhere, but it's like there's a lot of new research out about like hot cold therapy.
Yeah.
Like going into like an infrared sauna for like 30 minutes and then going straight into an ice bath and back and forth like 3 rounds with like meditation, stuff like that inside of that. And I definitely believe it. I think now more than ever, like I feel like our society is like awakening in a way. People are starting to realize that your body is your most important thing. Like it's your temple, right? Like without your body, without, a healthy mindset, like you cannot have a large business. Well, let me take that back. You can, but you can't have a large business that you enjoy operating in it on a daily basis.
And you're capped at a certain point. You'll reach a point where you can't keep progressing. And I totally believe in that too. I think we're in a time where we have the most knowledge about anything that we've ever had. So people have to take advantage of that. In what way? And especially now that we're all at home, like, what are people doing? We're reading,
right now is
we're watching.
expedite this process. Like, I think right now a lot of like I just talked about, like, they're stripping their lives of all these bad habits and all these, like, all this extra weight, like I said, like, and they're starting to really figure out, like, okay, what are these things that make me feel good? And I think that if you show up in a certain way after spending the time to make yourself feel good, like, I'm a huge believer in the ripple effect, and like how, like, leading by example, and like how my actions, like, if I can just give someone like a thought or like a nugget of something, or just one thing I say that just like clicks and there's a light bulb in their mind that then like empowers them to go out and like really dive into themselves and figuring out what their core of them is, like, that just continues down the line. I think that's how, you know, to change the world, you really have to change yourself. And so I think that's the best thing I can do. And it's not a selfish thing. You know, I think a lot of people think it's selfish to, you know, if they have family and kids. And again, I don't have that right now. I have obviously my family, but not like a significant other and kids. And I don't think it's selfish at all, because your kids, your family, or whoever's in your world that you care about is going to pick up on that. And the more people that can then be in that ripple, the more that everyone else is going to get better and, you know, just have a more united and kind of collaborative society in general.
Nice. I actually love that. Very impactful. And I hope that some of our listeners will take from that, and then you'll have the ripple effect on them there.
I hope so.
So what are some of the things that you think will change that won't change back after this, once things become normal again?
Specifically for real estate, or just like in general?
In general, like, could be anything.
That's a great question. I like that question. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of efficiencies that come out of this. Let's say for business, well, for everything, but I'll speak directly to real estate. So, I mean, think about like all these virtual tours, and Chicago is an essential market. I know some places aren't considered an essential business, where they literally can't go and like do things right now, but we can basically do specific things. But a lot of people are now saying, like, just imagine once this is all over, you have a new buyer client, right? Because I'm assuming a lot of these people that are, you know, the audience is real estate or in some type of sales capacity. But if you can now take a client where you might have them give you, you know, your buyer console and their wants and needs, and all right, there's these 10 properties that they're interested in, and you go, normally I would go, or someone else, you know, a showing agent or whoever in my office would go and take them out on showings over a course of 3 or 4 hours or 2 days or whatever the case is, and go see those 10 properties. But now, what if you could send them 10 virtual tours and they pick the top 3, and then your conversation with them is, hey, I'm going to ask you really good questions so that you tell me exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to send you 10 virtual tours. You're going to pick 3, and then we're going to go see those 3 together, and then you're going to write an offer on your favorite one. Like, I think that will stay. At least I very much so intend for that to stay in my business, because that saves us time, energy, and money. So that's one thing. I think efficiencies like that. I think a lot more people are building out systems and processes that are going to aid them in creating more robust businesses, because we have some more time to do that. And then like in society, like, or like in like the general world of business or whatever it is, like, I think a lot of big corporations are realizing that they don't have to have these large office spaces. Like, they don't have to go, they don't have to fly. Another thing would be, they don't have to fly to Asia or to China or to Germany or wherever to go meet with a client, because now everyone, you know, my grandma knows how to use Zoom now, and you can meet like that, right? Like, oh, of course you're always going to want that human connection, that human interaction face to face. But I think a lot of things will be filtered through that lens now. Like, is this really essential for me to go and meet this person in person? And then that kind of translates also to, like, I think employees right now are like, they're probably being almost more productive than they were if they were at the office. So I think some larger scale corporations might start, and I've heard this from someone else, but they might start going to like a 4-day work week, where they work like 10 hours for 4 days and then have like a 3-day weekend, because of the things that we were just talking about. Because now people have more time off, you know, or they have that 3-day block of time where they're actually not working. to really pour into themselves and really spend time with their loved ones and their families. And then really when they're at work, they become more efficient and they get more done. So things like that. And then like people shopping online versus going to retail, like retail is struggling right now, like really badly. So I think a lot more things like Amazon is just going to continue to blow up and other online, e-commerce type things.
Awesome. I always think it's super interesting to hear what people's thoughts are. So thanks for touching on that a little bit.
I don't know if we have time. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that too. Maybe after.
I'm probably like on the same page as you. Honestly, like I just see how our team is working so efficiently and we're still getting transactions, we're still getting new clients, we're still able to take care of our clients on such a high level. And the thing is, not a lot has changed because we already had a lot of virtual leverage prior to this. So it's just a bit of an adjustment for the people that are used to being in the office, but the people that are out of the office, it's like business as usual. They're still doing their daily tasks and getting shit done, right?
Yeah. I think it's really quickly on that, it just reminded me, like, I think we all got to remember that we were already heading, and this is slightly off topic of that, but we're already heading into this shift before, well, again, I don't know what Canada's market is, but the US was pretty much, most markets were a seller's market and still are, like not a lot of inventory. Like we were already heading that direction, and our conversations specifically at Keller Williams for the past 2 years have been about preparing for the shift. And so it was going to happen regardless, and it's still going to happen. I think coronavirus and this pandemic is just now it's like, it's expediting the amount of time, or it's expediting us to really figure out how to go get those skill sets faster. Because I feel ready for this, like not only mentally and like from a personal development standpoint, like everything else is crashing around us. And I feel like I'm just continuing in my lane. Because we worked on our skills, because we script practice, because we study the market, we look at trends, and then we collaborate, and we're very transparent with each other. Like that's stuff that, I wish everyone had before this all happened. But I think people are going to really realize it, and a lot of things are going to get weeded out. And a lot of things are going to condense as we continue to progress through this, this kind of rough patch of time.
100% agreed. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I guess I have a question for you. So you just mentioned that you feel very fortunate that you've developed the skills before the shift actually took place. Are those skills helping you now? And do you find that you are still transacting, taking listings, taking buyers, and selling homes?
Yeah, 200%. I mean, more than anything right now, like in terms of my day and like my time is I'm on the phone, which I talked about before. I'm not like a sales beast in the capacity of like calling like directly for deals, but like the way that I can be a grounded opinion and an unbiased grounded opinion for the people that actually need it and that are reaching out to me saying, hey, how does this impact our purchase that we made last year? Or, hey, Jordan, is this a good time to refinance? Do you think rates are going lower? Like someone reached out to me today saying, hey, do you think rates are going lower? And I was like, well, what are you getting quoted at? And he's like 2.75. I was like, dude, jump on that. Like, that is like, yeah. So the short answer is yes, because I'm able to speak from like facts and logic, because everyone right now, and I got this again from my buddy and mentor, Tommy Choi, but right now we have to match emotion with logic. So many people are coming to us with emotion right now because there's so much uncertainty, but we look to the logic, we look to the facts as the real thing. We can't speculate on where the market's going to be in 3 to 6 months. We got to work off of, make the best decision right now based on all the facts and the logic that we have at our fingertips. So when you can come with a confident opinion like that, and you can back it up with logic and facts, that instantly allows people to feel more comfortable moving forward. So I'm still, to answer your question, I'm still having people reach out to me wanting to buy and sell on both sides of it. I definitely think there's more buyers right now that are jumping in, and I'm definitely pivoting my business to try to start working and intending to work with more investors, because I think not only for myself, but in general, investors are going to be jumping into the market in the next 2 years, if they're not already. But just, and it's the long game. I think people are going to value just your honest opinion, and you can't get caught up in if someone's not going to listen to you, because their friends, their family they all have this emotion, right? And they have their trust, so they're going to listen to them. So if we can't build trust with our people and our network, they're just going to listen to the hearsay of the media and the news or their family that aren't actually the local economists of choice. If you talk about the Shift book, so we got to study the market more than ever right now and really be that expert and really bring the value. And if you do that, I don't think every agent's prepared for that right now, but if you do that, you're going to be, the 50% that is going to take more of the pie once this all passes.
Yeah, I think that's so important to, one thing I've noticed over the course of the last, say, 20 days, so much doom and gloom amongst clients, amongst people that were thinking about selling that maybe aren't anymore, and amongst agents. But if you actually look at the stats and see the numbers, listings in our market, they're still selling just as quick as they're coming. There are less of them, but I think today I looked, there were 53 new listings and 42 sold.
Right. Yeah.
The facts, the situation isn't that bad.
No.
And comparatively, year over year, we're still seeing a high, like on price, on listings, on solds, on everything. It's pretty insane.
Well, and that's what you have to provide to people. You have to show, you have to use I like to call it societal proof. So using a client that you just helped that's in a similar situation as this person that's asking about whether they should do it or not. Because then they put themselves in their shoes and like, oh, well, it worked for them. Like, okay, it's going to calm some of my nerves and it's going to allow me to move forward, because, we gotta bring the logic to reduce reluctance. Again, I'm pulling from Shift, which I don't know if you guys have read that, but everyone should be reading that right now. Our job is to diminish reluctance and to keep people, motivated on the bigger picture. And still today, more people than not, if you talk about ready, willing, and able, like a lot of people are ready. A lot of people are able, but not everyone's willing. But more than anything, the personal reasons of why someone moves are still the things that are driving the market today. It's still the life events that are happening that someone needs to go and upsize because they're having another kid, or they got engaged and they want to buy a house, now that they're getting married, or empty nesters. Like we have more empty nesters right now that are, this generation that's getting into their 60s and their 70s, that they're selling their old houses in the suburbs and moving into condos in the city, at least here in Chicago. So figure out where the motivated are, I would say, and then do a really good job for them, those specific clients, because those specific clients, let's just use the move-up buyer, for example. Like, who do you think all their friends are? They're also the move-up buyers. So if you can spend a little bit more time making sure that they feel loved and that they feel that you're truly giving them your time to represent them at the highest level possible, again, you're creating that raving fan, and you don't have to work as hard because now you have this army out there working for you.
It's amazing. Anna, you have any other questions?
Honestly, we just want to say thank you for your time, Jordan. How can the people reach you if they want to get in touch with you? Yeah,
so I'd say email is probably the best way. So jordan@pyleresidential.com. My last name is Pyle. So jordan@pyleresidential.com, or Instagram, jordan.pyle. Either one of those, completely fine. I service the city of Chicago. Chicago's a big place. So whether you're a client or you're just an agent that has a referral, I'm definitely the guy to call for the city.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And before we let you go, we always ask our guests one question is, who do you know that we should have on this podcast?
Ooh, sales is the sales beast theme, right? So it's a great question.
You're actually our first non-Canadian guest, by the way.
Okay, I like that. That feels good. Feels good.
Sales beast doesn't just mean someone that works the phones. You are a sales beast.
You are.
Anyone that you think's crushing it at a high level, it doesn't matter how they're doing it.
Yeah. So I think I want to say the guy that I was referencing a couple of times, I think he has a lot of valuable insights. Tommy Choi.
Awesome.
He's also KWYP. He's actually one of the investors in our market center. He was the past president of the Chicago Association of Realtors. So he's just got a lot of valuable insights, and I think they're doing almost 200 deals a year, about 80 million, has a team of like 12. So he might be someone good that you want to talk to. Tommy Choi.
Awesome.
Amazing.
We'll reach out to him.
For sure.
Thanks so much. It was great having you on.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and go Canada.
Go Canada. We'll stay in touch. Thanks so much, Jordan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.